There is one thing regarding perfectionism where I think music is at a disadvantage when you look at other types of art. Like, for example, writing. Yes, you can use wrong words, but it is more or less, it's a feeling thing. You can go against grammar, but poets do that quite often to create an effect. With music, and since it has this mathematical approach, and there is like this perfect thing out there, like it seems to me that makes it that with music it is more prone to this perfectionism. But I wasn't on pitch, so this was not correct, and it's easier because you can actually measure pitch.
No, but this here's where I disagree with you, because here's where it comes from, your European upbringing,
Yeah.
in that the origin of what you're talking about is Western culture. And so therefore there are pitches in Eastern culture that don't exist in the West. And so you could mathematically trace them, but to our ears, your and I ears, some Eastern music sounds very dissonant
Yeah.
and not pleasing, so therefore not perfect. And so perfect is always a cultural tag, and therefore even our Western atonal music can be explained mathematically, but to most people sounds chaotic. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's through resonance and dissonance that we're always trying to find that contrast. And art always, utilizes a contrast. And so it is, when my father told me that the music I was listening to was not music, he was just talking about his taste. And then when I said that to my son, I was talking about my taste. And that's what art does, is it evolves, and each generation gets to have their own set of standards.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a different culture. So cultures change. And so the word perfection is a disease for artists because it's too ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, I call it a disease because it's undefined and it's negative in that connotation. It's so you have to define it. And so when somebody is trying to achieve a certain sound at a certain pitch with a certain volume level for a certain duration, those are the only aspects of sound, those four elements. That's, you can't boil it down anymore. And so if you've achieved those sounds and you're still saying to yourself, something's wrong, it's like the something is you. It's not the sound. And I deal with this a lot with people because they will make a sound, they'll sing something and they'll go, oh, that was horrible, I want to do that again. And I'll ask them, what was horrible about it? And they are at a loss of words. And so there's the bad relationship that they have within themselves. There's their demon torturing them because they had a gut feeling that was unpleasant and they associated their singing with that gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And they're assuming everyone will have that same unpleasant feeling when they sing. That's not true. And so they're projecting themselves onto their listeners. And that's where I like your definition of meaning. So they're giving too much meaning to their gut, their unpleasant feeling.
Yeah.
So these unfortunate relationships that exist within us do not exist outside of us. And yet we project them onto others. And that causes then external difficulty in relationships because we're projecting all of our own self-loathing onto other people, thinking that they're creating this. So it gets very complex very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the word worth to me comes in that it begins with one's worth. Not that even superstars feel worthy of their fame, often they do not,
Mm-hmm.
but it is the drive in them to seek it that allowed them to make all of the unreasonable choices to pursue it. Because to seek and maintain fame is a exhausting premise. It takes a lot of effort to become famous and then to maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
So those people are really seeking approval in a huge way, which most people don't require. And therefore, fame never finds them simply because you have to really pursue it with a vengeance in order to achieve it.
I cannot count the amount of percentage that I feel uncomfortable when I am with my voice teacher.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
because there's always like, you really want me what? And so it, like, everything that I've learned, that was like drilled into me, like, just as you said, children should not be loud, you're not supposed to raise your voice, don't raise your voice, and all these things. And then there's this person who goes completely against it, and of course my feelings scream, no, I can't do that. It's
So here's
just,
the deal. It can be untrue, a feeling. So in my new book, I say that emotions are chemical. They are the ancient warnings that our brain has learned over time. So you touch something hot, boom, and you retract from it. That's a reflex, right? And when you feel, when something's rustling in the bushes and you feel scared, you're going to move away from that because it could be dangerous. Those people will startle and move before they even realize they're doing it, right? So that's a chemical reaction.
yeah.
Feelings are opinions. And so those opinions are bubbling up from the brain, giving us organic sensations. So if I have a feeling in my gut, I could say, oh, this feels like worry. And I'm about to step on the stage. Does that mean I should be worried about this performance? And so if someone walked by me on the street and says, you should, something bad is going to happen to you today, I'll look at that person strange. I'm like, you don't know me. It's like, and they're giving me their opinion,
Yeah.
and I'm free to say, this crazy person just told me I'm going to have a terrible day. But if I have that feeling within me, I'm
Yeah.
going to obey it. Like, it's like, I have this feeling I can't do anything today because my gut told me I'm in trouble and I have to be very careful. So it's very important to treat feelings as opinions, and
Mhm.
you do not have to obey someone's opinion, even yours. That
I love that.
opinions can be very malleable, and
Yeah.
therefore if they're in your best interest, that deserves to be explored. But once you discover that they're not in your best interest, it was just an opinion, it was just a feeling.
Yeah, I really love that. And I wish that people, like, so many times I hear the excuse, I didn't feel like it.
Right.
So that's where I really would love people to go against their feelings.
And that's very true. And again, so there's the sabotage,
Mm.
the dysfunctional relationship that we harbor inside us. Your brain knows all it has to do is make you not feel like doing something, procrastination, right? And then it will hold that there. And here's how devious it is. So it will make you not feel like practicing for several days in a row. Then at the end of that week, it'll make you feel guilty for not practicing, right? And so here we go in the swing over and over again of
Yeah.
feeling guilty for not practicing. And then you finally start practicing and it's not good. And so your brain goes, listen to you. You're not good. It's like, you're not into this. You're not dedicated. You're no singer. And so that's diabolical. that
Yeah.
would give us the stall and then blame us for the stall. And it's all coming from the same source.
Yeah, absolutely. So your book, I'm super excited. I mean, you told me about it about 10 months ago, I think, that you
I've
are
been
working
working
on
on it a
something.
long time.
Yeah. So how is it going? Are you procrastinating? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you heard. No, I have here's the finished copy. So I finished it on Christmas of this
Okay.
past year, and I was working on it for about 15 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
it is the culmination of everything I've learned since my first book, which is 30 years ago now. And so there was definitely procrastination in that process, and I called myself on it in the book. I wrote about that,
Okay.
and but it was also, I started the book with questions instead of answers, and I
Mhm.
thought that was important because I knew, having I'm teaching now 37 years, so I know that what I offer people works. I know I'm trusting in it. I know it works, but I didn't know why. And
Mhm.
so I wanted to know why, and I wanted to know what it is I could improve and how I could sort of quantify it. So I started with a lot of questions. And so when I say this sort of took 15 years to write, is because I had to find the answers to those questions. And in doing so, it was great therapy for me because I had to deal with a lot of my past in doing it. But it was also, to me, enlightening in that what started out to feel very complicated ends in an extremely elegantly simple thing, and that is that, how innate things are, how much purpose matters, and how much love matters, and those kind of deliberate, uh, what are often thought of as, in this country we say crunchy, meaning they're too friendly, and they seem too simple to just
Mhm.
say you just need to love something and you'll get better at it. And I know that seems really too simple because it does require work, but love is the gist. Love is the engine that makes the work doable. Is otherwise it feels too much like a chore, and your brain is going to eventually grind you down and say, this isn't working. We're not where we should be. You're not meant to do this. And it's only love that can oppose that kind of negativity and keep you going when there's really no reason to keep going other than you love doing it. And so, the ending of the book, was, I knew it was the ending when I got there because I couldn't say anything more about, reasons to pursue, or uh, reasons not to sing, or reasons to sing. So
Mhm.
it is. So it's finished and it's off to the publisher now. I don't know which publisher I'm going to go with. So it's in that stage now. It's out of my hands, in other
Yeah.
words. So fingers crossed it'll be pretty soon.
This is so beautiful. So you started with a question and you end with a love.
Yeah, started with many questions,
I
and
like that.
and not to reveal the book is more about, more than love. It's about more than love. But in order to quantify love, I had to go into the neurology of singing and go into the psychology of singing. The physiology of singing has been well documented, so I don't ignore that. But that's been given so much attention, too much attention, I feel, that I know that's covered very well in other disciplines. So I touch upon it, but I really like to lean on the neurology and the psychology of singing. And without all three, you're not singing. So you need to have this sort of mother loop, if you will, of the what the brain is doing, what the mind is doing, and what the larynx is doing. And all three need to be in alignment for it to be wholesome, for it to be captivating.
It definitely sounds like a book that I want to study and incorporate as much of it as possible into my coaching.
I'm excited for you to read it. It's been my life's work, literally. So it's very personal to me, of course. But again, what I thought was my own journey, turns out is so common of an artistic journey, and I was fascinated by that because there's a chemistry in us artists that is unique to non-artists, and there is a mindset also in us artists, and often artists don't speak about it and they feel alone about it. And I wanted the book to confirm, like, no, you're not alone, and no, you're not crazy. Well, a little bit. And so, but that's a good crazy because I often call non-artists flatliners because they're so stoic and they're so stayed in their routines and in what they allow themselves,
Mhm.
that I know we look like we're reckless sometimes in our artistic whims, but we're also full of passion. And I find myself in the best company when I'm around artists because we all have crazy ideas, but some of them are brilliant and some of them are awful. And so you weed through them and you're left with a lot of life. And I have zero regrets.
We are different creatures. We just are. There's like, I mean, if you look at it, I've been a writer for my whole life. I've made, I don't know, less than 5,000 euro with it in over 20 years. And nevertheless, I couldn't live without writing. And that is not negotiable. Absolutely not. And with singing, I'm a little bit, singing is more joy for me. That is actually why I focus on working with singers, because writers are annoying the hell out of me.
They're
It
a
is also
different breed. Writers are definitely a different breed.
absolutely yes, yes. Like in the yeah, but Yeah, we are different from non-regular humans or non-artists or whatever. Everything is different. We have a different setup of emotions. We have a different obligation towards time.
Yeah.
I don't know any artist that feels comfortable about wasting time. There is
Yeah.
always this, I should be working. That's like, and it's not like I should be working because there's a boss that tells me you have to work. It's because I set out to write 5 novels in a series. I gave myself that job, that duty. And so it's completely, it's very, it's an ego thing, but not an ego thing. It's
I think
being self-driven.
I think it's survival. I think and that's where we trick our brains as artists that we need to create to survive. It's no different than a bird making a nest. That bird will go through anything to make that nest, and it's a survival instinct that lets them do that. But I countless times I've been asked by friends of like, "You're still working on your book? Why don't you just put it aside?" I was like, "No, no, no. That's my nest. I'm building this. It is going to complete me when I'm done." And it is that drive that's really makes others scratch their head because it's unreasonable. But a bird doesn't have any hands, and yet they make these intricate nests with just the beak and the twigs outside. And these are phenomenal feats of engineering
Mhm.
that you would think when you watch the beginning of a nest, it's just a bunch of sticks. And how so it's like, that's nothing. That's just a pile of garbage. But yet it evolves into this. And whether or not the bird saw the finished nest in his or her mind before they started, we'll never know as humans. But it is that drive that I'm talking about, and it's impossible to explain to a non-creative person because we just look possessed.
Yes, yes, we do.
But then when I view, non-creative people just spending hours watching TV or surfing the web, or it's like what a waste of a life. And so,
Yeah.
so I, who's the crazy one?
Yeah. I really like the image of this being a survival mechanism. And actually, I'm just putting together a course that is called Resilience Lady Gaga Style.
Mhm.
I looked at a couple of interviews with Lady Gaga, and in one of them, that was actually where she hooked me because I wasn't a huge fan. I mean, I always appreciated her and her art, but when I heard her saying that, that was where she hooked me. She talks about being depressed and trauma, falling into trauma responses, and eventually getting to the point where she had suicidal thoughts every day. And then the question was, what got you out there? And she points to her piano, and she says, "This turns out, even if I don't want to live, I still know how to write a song."
Yeah,
And that's it. That's like every artist understands that, and every non-artist look like, what?
that survival instinct, right? And is to me so beautiful because a sculptor will take that survival instinct and make a physical thing that people can look at, wonder, and an author will write a book, and that book will now exist in eternity, basically.
Yeah.
So we leave these beautiful landmarks for others to see of like, this is what one person did with their survival instinct. They made this beautiful thing or that beautiful thing. And to me, us artists, and I'm you know I'm biased to artists, so I'm prejudiced that we are the leaders of cultures and the leaders of civilization, and because it is our drive for a better society, for a better world, that has led us. Every innovation has been by a creative person. Look at Da Vinci or Michelangelo or all these incredible inventions and how they come to be. They're always from some crazy lunatic in the corner of some laboratory somewhere where people are going, he's a madman, or she's up to no good. And yet we produce these things that help the masses both survive their own emotions and move forward with innovation. And so it is. I think artists are heroes.